welcome to a very special episode of D18 Photo English Edition. My name is Dennis18. Today we'll be talking with Levi Bettwieser from the Rescued Film Project, live from Boise, Idaho via Skype. I'm really excited to be talking to him because the project is so amazing. And before I'll tell you all about it, let's ask the man himself. Levi, welcome to the show, and please tell us, what is the Rescued Film Project?
Yeah, okay. So the Rescued Film Project is something I started maybe about 3 years ago. And what I do is look all over the world for rolls of film that have been shot but never processed. And it's rolls of film from, the 1940s all the way up until modern film, the 2000s film being made today. It doesn't really matter the age or the type of film. I process the film to try and rescue the images that are on it. And really it started just kind of out of curiosity. I'm a film photographer. I shoot on vintage, medium, and large format film cameras for myself. And I started noticing that a lot of rolls of film were in cameras at thrift stores and antique shops and flea markets and things like that. So I started buying them and processing the rolls of film just because I could. And I saw that I was getting a lot of images. I turned it to the project because I realized that if I could get images off rolls of film just here in my area, that there had been hundreds, if not thousands, of rolls of film around the world. And so I started the Rescue Film Project.
It was about a year ago. I was just browsing YouTube and I found what you were doing, and then I kind of almost forgot about you. And then I stumbled across a roll of film which I found in an old camera from East Germany. It was an NP20, I think. That's a East German film. And I had it lying around, and after a while I thought maybe let's give it a try. Let's try to develop the thing and see what's on it. And there's actually, I've got the roll right here, and actually there are pictures on it. And I was so surprised that actually the whole thing worked that I started Googling again because I remembered you, and came back to your homepage and actually found that you were still alive, still doing your thing, and you seem to be drowning in film. People start sending you stuff.
Yeah, completely drowning. I still get most of my film by purchasing it directly from camera dealers and auctions and things like that. But yeah, people almost every day there's something on my doorstep from either something I bought or something someone donated, and I probably have right now a couple thousand rolls of film just waiting to be processed, sitting in my fridge. So yeah, it's never ending, and I keep thinking it's going to dry up and there's going to be less film, but every day I get messages or I find rolls of film, and it's crazy.
How do you find the time? Because this isn't your day job. This is the project on the side, right?
Yeah, I work full time as a video producer, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 most of the time, and it's a lot of times more than that. Yeah, I get up a couple hours before I got to go to work, and I'll jump on and I'll either scan film or edit photos or do social media, and then I'll go to work, and then I'll come home and do the same thing in the evenings. And then I'll pick a weekend day every couple months and just dedicate that to processing. And I'll process anywhere from 50 to 100 rolls of film in that one day. And then it'll take me a couple months to get that scanned and edited. And then it just repeats. I just do that over and over again. So yeah, I try and find a balance between life and rescued film. But it's always there. I mean, I could constantly, if I stopped working and just worked on rescued film, I could probably do it for a year and not be done. So... 25,000 images. 25,000 images we've rescued so far.
Wow, that's yeah. If you divide that by like 12 on each roll, medium format, that's quite a bunch of rolls. What kind of formats do you process?
So the most ones I can most easily process are the standard ones: 35 millimeter, 620, 120, even 127, because that's what the Patterson reels they most easily take. But I can also process, like the 110 or the sub-miniature film, the 116, it's bigger than the 120. And then anything outside of that, I usually partner with a more legitimate processing lab to help me with, because they have the full darkroom setups that they process film with in tanks, the bigger rolls. So yeah, those are the ones I most primarily process. But I'm working to use 3D printers to print new reels and new film holders so that I can do it all myself, so that they'll fit my Patterson tanks and all that. So this is just one of my prototypes. I don't have them all completely processed yet, but this is like the sub-miniature film holder, all done on a 3D printer, and it works just like the standard Epson-made negative holders for the Epson scanners. I designed this myself using a 3D CAD program and test printed it, and so basically same deal. It just 110 film pops right in, and you can scan it. Because what I was finding with 110 film specifically is how I was scanning it before was I was just taking little clips and clipping it to the side of the film and then laying it on the scanner surface. But what I realized was because it's so small and the clips were holding it up, that it was vibrating when it was scanning, and my images were coming out blurry. Okay. So I definitely needed something that would lock it in and hold it. And so this has been the best option I've found so far. It's a little bit slow of a process getting everything printed. It takes about 18 hours to print one of those, but it set it to go overnight, and it goes.
Yeah. Do you also develop all types of emulsions, or are you just sticking to black and white, or what are you doing?
So when I first started, I wasn't as experienced, obviously, processing or cross-processing film. So I was only sticking to standard black and white, C41 color, and like E6, slide, all the stuff you can get chemicals for now. But like the Kodachromes and E2s, E4s, triple print, all those ones, the Seattle Film Works, I have a lot of that. And that's primarily what I get a lot of the time because people can't get it processed anywhere else. So I've learned and I've developed ways to cross-process most of those as black and white. And I've been getting some pretty good results. Overall. So yeah, it's been a learning process, but you know what, I've been pretty lucky, and I don't think I've ruined very many rolls in my process. I get a lot of blank rolls, but I feel confident that's not necessarily because of my process techniques.
Sometimes something may go wrong. So that's what happens when you develop yourself. Do you sometimes say, well, maybe this is the definitive image, this is the Kennedy assassination image, or whatever you're looking for? Do you get nervous?
Yeah, well, I used to get a lot more nervous than I do now. I've done it so many times that I've just kind of accepted that a lot of these rolls are going to turn out blank. But yeah, I mean, I have had ones that I had a feeling that there was something special on because of either what was written on it or whatever. And yeah, sometimes they just don't come out, and that's just because you never know how film has been stored over the years or what it's gone through or where it's been. And people ask me, I get emails every day, people ask me how I compensate my processing techniques for the age and the film and all that. And I always tell them I don't try to compensate in any way or add any additional chemicals to reduce fogging. People keep telling me I need to, but you just never know how a roll of film has been stored over the years or what it's gone through. And if you throw something else in the mix, you never know. You never have a base, basically, if that makes sense. Yeah. If I throw something else in there and it comes out blank, I'm not going to know if it's because I tried something new or because the roll's blank or whatever. So I keep everything very consistent, and I process most film the exact same way I would process it as if it was brand new film. And honestly, I get quite a few good results out of film that you wouldn't expect to get results off of. So what ended up being on, I think you sent me the photos, but what ended up being on your roll?
It must be from around 60-something, 65, somewhere around that. There's a license plate on a car. And in East Germany, they switched these up over the years. And so you kind of have some kind of marker in which 10-year period the photos must have been taken. And it's a couple on maybe a weekend or something out on some kind of lawn, lying around, lounging in their lawn chairs, and some kid playing, and you have a car and you have a little motorcycle scooter. It's family photos, basically.
Yeah, isn't it incredible to think that sat in that camera for so long? And was it completely wound up when you got it?
Yeah, tightly wound up.
Okay, so that helps. Yeah, a lot of sometimes, someone will open a camera back and it's not completely wound up. Or someone will reach out to me and say, hey, can this be processed? And they'll send me a picture of a camera back with it open and a roll of film. I'm like, well, not anymore. So it kind of breaks my heart every time that happens.
Yeah. I mean, you get a window into somebody else's private life. Isn't that weird? I found it really, really weird to look at these people and know that they're not alive probably anymore. Yep. I'm looking into their private life. These pictures weren't intended for me or anybody else. They were just their private family moments.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a TED Talk in a couple of weeks, kind of centered around that idea. I mean, it's crazy to think that these days, because of this, right, because of our cell phones, we take pictures almost hoping, knowing that strangers are going to see them, putting them on the internet. Back when it was only film, no photos were taken for that purpose. The thought of strangers seeing your personal photos was very odd. You would only ever see them if you knew the person, if you're in their house. And so I think it's kind of shaped the way and why we take photos now, knowing that it's going to be put on this huge stage for potentially thousands of people to see. People don't really take photos for those personal moments anymore, like we did when we only shot on film. Nothing's truly private anymore, I feel like.
I'm a big presidential history nerd, let's call it that. And on your website, I found that you've actually found pictures of Dwight D. Eisenhower. I mean, how did that happen?
It was just at the end of I processed film for a full day, and it was all black and white film that day. And I don't really sit there and examine the photos right when I process them. I hang them to dry. So I look at them and I was like, okay, there's pictures of some guy and some people, and so I hung it up and dried it. And it was probably a couple weeks later where I actually got to scanning it in. And then even after I scanned it, because I am not necessarily a history buff presidential, I was like, this person looks really familiar and he looks important. So I'm looking at these photos going, and I started Googling and I was like, this guy be like a president. It looks so familiar. I was like, that's Eisenhower. And I was like, and then after that, I was like, oh, geez. And so I put them out on the internet. I made a little video. I was like, hey, does anybody know like when these were taken, what this is from? It looks like there's like a press conference. And I reached out to the Eisenhower Library. And I think I found out that the photos were taken from some tour he was doing in like Copenhagen. And I was at a train station. He had a little press conference, and it was some presidential tour, and it's been really interesting. I've actually got photos I rescued also that are from Korea that have a bunch of banners that say "Welcome President Eisenhower" from his trip after he got elected. I guess he made a promise to go over to Korea, and it was really interesting to see those.
How did these rolls of film find their way to you? Did you just find them in cameras, or were they in these batches which you got from camera dealers?
So that one, honestly, the roll that I got those images off of, I could have had in my possession for 6 months to a year. I bought them from an auction in California, and I just put them in cold storage until I can get to them. And so there weren't any special markings on them. It was a 120 Tri-X film, I believe, and it was just from a batch I purchased, probably from an online auction. And people ask me that all the time. They're like, am I searching for anything in particular? Am I trying to find these historical photos? And I'm not really. If I happen upon them, I can. That's great. If it's a piece of history I can preserve, that's awesome. But really, like you mentioned, it's these personal family moments that they were important to that person. And so I feel like there's importance to them. And because they aren't around necessarily anymore, or maybe I haven't found them yet, I kind of feel like we need to step in as surrogates and give these important moments some meaning, because some of these photos might be the only evidence that these people ever existed. Sometimes that's all we leave behind are photos, right? Especially if you think about it 100 years ago, what's left of these people. And so I think that's largely why photography is important.
Yeah. I mean, you must be building up gigabytes or terabytes of data. How do you plan on showing these to the world?
Yeah, no, I mean, it just takes time and resources. My goal is, like I said, we have 25,000 images so far. My data on my server is around 7 terabytes used. My goal is to make an online archive where people can go and search and metadata search and do their own research and keyword tag and do things like that. I just don't have the time or money right now to build such a platform. But that's my end goal, because I'm trying to reconnect these images with people. And so the best way I found is to pool our following and to put it out there and to ask, the minds of our 60,000 Facebook followers is way greater than myself just trying to go out and do Google searches, and that's what I found. As soon as I put an image out there and I ask people, hey, does anybody know anything about this photo? It's crazy. Almost inevitably, within an hour, I have research and links, and people have tracked down other people, and it's pretty incredible to see the collective power of people's research. So if I can put it all out there for people to interact with themselves, that is my end goal.
Are there any companies knocking on your door, say maybe like Kodak or other film companies or Google? I mean, you've got data to sell, basically. That's what you have.
Yeah.
Are people knocking on your door say, well, let's figure out a way to make this work on the commercial level?
Not yet. I mean, I've been very fortunate to have a lot of corporations or companies help with the project. For example, Epson, all these scanners were donated by Epson. Seagate, all my servers and hard drives were all donated by Seagate. But that's more behind the scenes. They just wanted to support the project. I've had individuals approach me about designing and creating a website and web platform, but nothing to the capacity that I need, really. So, but right now, I mean, I'm primarily focusing on the film, finding of the film, the processing of the film, and then the curation of the archive and how I'm going to put that out there is more of it's kind of like a secondary goal for me right now. I'm still constantly kind of keeping my ears and my eyes open for something, but right now, because the film is degrading rapidly, it is going away. People are throwing it away on a daily basis, and so my goal is just to collect as much of it as possible, more than I could ever process right now, and hold on to it for a time when I can actually process it.
What do people do if they find a couple of rolls somewhere in a drawer and say, I would give that to you? How do they go about it?
So the nature of the project, I don't accept rolls for processing from the photographers generally. I'm not a film processing service, and that's not really the true nature of the project. Unless it's a roll that's been around for 50 years and they shot it when they were a kid and then it truly needs to be rescued. So for people who are like, oh, I shot this 10 years ago of my kids, I'll refer them to a processing service that I recommend and I trust. But if anyone else has, like you have found a roll of film in your camera, and that camera or someone else, they can definitely donate it to the project. There's a link on our website at rescuedfilm.com under the Contribute tab. All the details are there. They can just send it to us. But by sending it to us, they are truly donating it to our project. We will send digital copies of any images we rescue back to the donator. But it is a true donation. We keep the negatives and we add it to our archive.
That moment when you open the development tank. I've been doing this now for like half a year, maybe, developing myself, and I still cannot believe that actually works. it's still like magic. You open that thing, and pull it out, and say, there are really pictures on this. You know what you're doing, and you know that's supposed to work, but still, it's a weird elation where you pull it out and say, did I do this? Do you still feel that after all these hundreds of rolls?
Yeah, well, I mean, even especially when I shoot for myself, right? When you think about it, and then when you look at the amount of detail that's like on this chemical, it's so weird. It's such an analog thing, but it's so detailed. You wouldn't think. I mean, it's so weird now to think that digital, it's on a sensor, and it seems very technical, right? It's a lot of technology and digital and circuit boards and all that. But just to think that someone like spreads some stuff on this plastic, and then you can create this extremely detailed image based on that chemical. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible, and the detail of it is incredible. And it's crazy to me think that for rescued film specifically, a roll can have and store these images on them in this unidentifiable state for 50, 60, 70 years, and then I can just pour some chemicals on it, and I can reveal these images. It feels like, you know, like when you see all those movies where they're like the National Treasure movies, and they're like, there's secret things on documents, and you got to pour some lemon juice on it, right? And then it reveals it. That's what I feel like we're uncovering the past. We're like digging in, kind of like these anthropologists do when they're uncovering these dinosaurs' bones that no one would ever have known they were there until someone else kind of, you know, took the time to do it. So yeah, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
What were the weirdest pictures you found? What was the craziest stuff which you developed?
Oh, I mean, almost for the most part, I get all sorts of stuff. You know, you get the very mundane things that you'd expect: the birthday parties, Christmas mornings, cats and dogs, and that is the majority of what we get. Those kind of just because all the 99% of the images in the archive are personal photographers. They're not professional. They're just doing it to capture their day-to-day lives, which is a really unique thing about it. There's not really any professional photos. But yeah, I mean, I've got images, I think, from like peeping toms, voyeurs, taking pictures of people from really far away with long lenses. That's probably the most interesting stuff to kind of look at. And then, yeah, I mean, you run the gamut. I mean, I've got photos of naked people. I've got photos of whatever. But anything that feels too personal or intimate, I don't even scan in. I don't want people to feel like this project is kind of a really voyeuristic thing, even though it is. I don't want it to have that vibe to people. It's still a project that should have a positive feeling that we are trying to reconnect images with people. We aren't trying to take weird looks into people's lives and find creepy images or anything like that. It's still a very public project that should have I want people to come away with a good feeling that we're doing something good.
Yeah. I mean, you said the word mundane pictures, but if you really think about it, these were pictures which are really important to somebody. I mean, the Christmas morning for me, it looks like, well, this is just another Christmas morning. But for them, it was the kids, maybe their second Christmas, the first time they actually saw the Christmas tree or something like that. And that you actually get a window into that. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying we need to step in as surrogates, because even though we don't realize how important these images are to people, they know how important they are. And so because they took a picture, we know that it was important to them, right? Yeah. No one takes a picture of something they want to forget. People take pictures of things they want to remember and were important to them. And so because the people more than likely will never see those images, we should step in and give them meaning and give them the attention I think they deserve.
It's really, really cool project. I'm actually quite envious that you came up with the idea first. Because
I've heard that a couple times, and there are people out there who still do it. They're just not. I want to make it a one gallery collection. I want to make it the largest archive of images that no one has ever seen before, for people to search. But if anyone, I mean, I'm happy to give recommendations. If anyone wants to start their own little project, I mean, I think as long as these images are getting rescued, I don't really care who's doing it. So, and it's fun. I mean, people enjoy it. I mean, it's your own little, to know that you were the only person who's ever seen that one image, even though once again, it's a mundane photo. Yeah. It makes it a little bit more special.
See, how can people help you with your project?
Two things they can do to help the project the most is, one, to spread the word and let people know about it. Because the more people who know about it, the more likely we're going to get more rolls of film to help rescue. Because inevitably, whenever I talk to someone and tell them about the project, 9 times out of 10, they go, oh, I've got 3 rolls of film that I forgot about sitting in a drawer. So I know there's film out there, and people just need to know that there's a resource to get that processed, or at least they know that they can be processed. That's the other thing. People think, I shot this film 10 years ago, it's never going to be able to process. But as long as people know it, they can still get it processed. So spreading the word is probably the biggest thing people can do to help. The second is just to actively look for rolls of film that need to be rescued and donate them to the project and send them in. That is one of the biggest helps.
Cool. Let's repeat where we can find you on the internet. That's the rescuedfilmproject.com.
Just rescuedfilm.com.
Okay. And Facebook, Twitter, where would we find you?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Etsy, and Pinterest. We are not on Twitter just yet. That's enough social media platforms to maintain. So.
Yeah. And last question, because you told me that you actually shoot film yourself, which is not a surprise to me after hearing how passionately you talk about film. But why do you still shoot film? I mean, all these brilliant, expensive cameras which you could buy, and you're a filmmaker, so I assume that you're not averse to digital media. But why do you shoot film for yourself?
Yeah, well, I started out, as I think a lot of people my age did. I'm 30 years old, and I think my generation is one of the last that actually remembers film, that spans that gap, right? I think generations not too long after me don't even know what film is. They've only been exposed to digital. But I was shooting digital. That's how I shot. That's how I started professionally and as a hobby. And it just became less challenging. It just seemed like I wasn't getting as much enjoyment out of it at some point. I hit that point where I said, you know what, I got this. It seems too easy. I need a new challenge. And so I looked into film, and I bought a film camera, a Rolleiflex 2.8F from off Craigslist, my first film camera. And it was a very conscious decision. And I said, you know what, I need a challenge. I want to try this. I know that it takes more skill, and I want to invest the time into it. And I did that. And I did a couple shoots with my Rolleiflex, and the images just turned out so amazing that I was hooked. And I went on like a camera purchasing spree. I bought like 13 film cameras, all in my local area. Yeah, all medium format for the most part. And I just kind of went nuts. And then I wasn't processing my own film. I was sending them off to a lab. And that just seemed like I was handing over so much of my creative process to someone else, because so much of what you get, what your end result is in the processing and the scanning. I don't print. I don't have a darkroom print. I scan everything. But so I decided I wanted complete control over my process, my creative process. And so I started processing my own film. I learned how to process, which is really easy. Processing film is really easy. And that's just kind of where it all started. And I think that what I realized in changing from digital to film is that digital photography is actually much more complicated than film. People people get scared about film photography because they think they don't know how to do it, and there's so much mystery to it. But a digital camera has 10,000 settings on it that you can use to manipulate your image and mess it up in some cases. A film camera, you only need to know 3 things and you're good. I just think people get scared about not being able to see their images as they create them. But as soon as you're comfortable and trusting your tools and trusting your instinct, it's way easier than digital photography, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. Thank you very much for your time. It's been an amazing thing to talk to you, and I'm glad that you found the time for us. And I hope we can help out a little bit with making the Rescued Film project a bit bigger, so that you get much more work, much less time for anything else.
Yeah.
Because my imagination is really stoked now. I'm really thinking of maybe finding some time to have my own small little Rescued Film project on the side, because this sounds so amazing to find these pictures and archiving them. It's been quite a thrill to talk to you. Thank you so much.